Welcome back to the channel. This week on the Kiwi Barefoot Gardener, we're tackling the thorny problem of pruning the gooseberries. We're also going to be trying to tame the rambling rose over the arbour. And while doing all that, we're going to enjoy the sunshine that's finally arrived this winter. Plus, while soaking up the sunshine, we're going to try and catch up on many of the projects outside that have been put on the back burner due to the bad weather. It's time for some hands-on winter gardening, so come potter with me. My name is Dawn and I am the Kiwi Barefoot Gardener. Good morning. It's Wednesday morning and I've just been doing a wee bit of thinking about how this week's video is going to go. With all the little bits and pieces that I'm catching up with out in the garden at the moment, it's going to be a wee bit more of a mishmash of days rather than a chronological progression of days. So you'll see things go backs and forwards a wee bit. Right, it's still Monday morning. And it's just after 10:30. The sun's out, but it's not as warm as I thought it was looking from inside out. But I've decided to abandon my inside gardening and head out and be brave and start tackling the gooseberries. So we'll go through them in a minute and have a look at what needs to be done. There's a lot of weeding that needs to be done underneath them as well. Hubby had asked me why did I have gooseberries with thorns. Well, these were gifted, so I didn't buy them, and they have been amazing. Last season I got probably close to 2.5 kilos per bush, so I'm not complaining, they're great. Though I probably will be complaining by the end of this because their thorns are like, huge. Right, I'm going to find somewhere to put this tripod because I'm wiggling. Hi all, it's Editing Dawn here. It's at this point during the editing, I realised that my mic was off during this and only the phone mic was picking up and the sound was dreadful. So we're going to do a bit of voiceover here. So I was having a go at trying to prune this for you. It's going to be a bit of an ouch fest, as I said. Tried to prune them last year, but at the time I wasn't fully mobile after my last surgery. But looking at them this year, they still need a lot to be taken off, especially around the centre. You prune on the new wood about 1/3 of the way down to an outward facing bud. It's the older wood which is the fruit bearing wood. It needs to be 2 to 3 years old before fruit will form. So with the older wood, you're only removing the dead, damaged and diseased. Any other stuff is things like crossovers and to clear the centre. You prune to the like roses to an outward facing bud, and actually I'm at this point I did actually turn the sound off anyway, as I suspected there was going to be a lot of ouching and swearing as I did it due to the huge thorns that were there. One done. I'll bring you in and show you. I've cleaned out the centre. There might be one more branch I'll have a go at later. One of the lower ones, just looking at it now. But generally I'm really happy with that. Taken out a lot of crossovers, a lot of branches that are just way too close together, so trying to harvest the fruit will be dangerous to your health, basically. But yeah, I'm generally happy with that. See if I can bring you in a bit closer so you can see how big those thorns are, hence why I was saying about it being a dangerous thing to prune my gooseberries. But yeah, I'm losing the sun in this spot, so I may or may not continue depending on the wind this afternoon. But I've also weeded all through there. I'll top that up with new mulch once I've completed this bed. And at the very back, and I'm not quite sure if you can see it, there's a baby grapevine there that I was gifted by Tissot from New Zealand Gardening on a Budget, and it's had its first season and it's slowly heading up the fence, which is great. It's lost all its leaves now, and I gave it a very, very, very minimal little haircut. Just took off about 3 little straight runners that were coming out this way instead of up the fence. So I'm looking forward to it really flourishing this coming summer. I'm going to give that particular grapevine another wee handful of well rotted sheep wool and poo as part of the bed mulch. Right, all 3 done. Really pleased about that. I had a reasonably heavy haircut. Last year, while I got a huge amount of fruit, it was at the expense of lots of jabs and cuts from the prickles. So this year I've really thinned out the middle bit and removed anything that's too close together, crossed over or anything like that, just to cut down on the jabs when I'm picking the fruit. Now, as I said, I was gifted these, but to get more gooseberry plants, you don't have to go out and buy a plant, new ones all the time. You can grow them on from cuttings. So you can either take cuttings and plant them up in autumnish, or, like I'll show you in a minute, some of these have actually done it themselves. So when the branches are really low on the ground, they actually will root in. And I've got about 4 of them that have done this. Last year I obviously didn't prune around the base well enough, and I had quite a lot of branches that have just been laying on the dirt, and they have developed their own roots, and I'm going to pop them on in a minute and have a few more gooseberry plants, though no idea where I'm going to put them. So those 2 sticks sticking out of the ground are actual gooseberries that have rooted themselves. So they were branches and they've rooted themselves into the ground and started off a new plant. I'm going to dig them up in a minute, pot them up, and hopefully by spring there'll be more to have. Right, here's one that's started a root of its own. I've cut it off at either end from the branch. I've left a bud on each side, and I'm just going to plant it into some dirt and see if it takes. Hopefully it will. Right, all done. 6 new plants. Well, hopefully 6 new plants. See how they take. I'm pretty sure those upright ones will be good. The flatter ones, not so sure if they'll take, but we'll go and see what happens. Now I'm going to leave these gooseberries that I've potted up here for about a week or so, just let them settle in the environment that they've been in up till now, and then I'll move them around to where I keep all my cuttings and things so that I remember to water them, which is always a good thing to do. These gooseberries are green gooseberries. Basically you can get green gooseberries, which are for things like jam and desserts and things like that, or red gooseberries, which are the sweeter ones that you can eat straight off the bush. I haven't got any red gooseberries, just the green ones. Now, if I was going to recommend anything to people about buying gooseberries, is to buy a thornless one, because these are absolutely vicious. I have luckily come away with nothing, no cuts or scrapes today, but usually I do. Last year when I was harvesting them, I regularly came away with big jabs and things like that from the thorns. But yeah, go for a thornless one. It's still really nice out here, even though this bit's in the shade. So I'm just going to continue to weed along here. Next week we'll look at how to prune the currants. I've got red currants and black currants. So they're slightly different. Not a lot different, but slightly different. And we'll look at doing those. So I've been in to check the greenhouse after a few days, and the slug has been up to no good again. He has eaten off my marigolds. There was 3 full 6 cells, and most of them are gone. Little bugger. So the pak choy is doing okay. He's had a couple more nibbles on the red one, but they seem to be growing quietly. But plan A and plan B didn't work, so I've now got plan C, which is a yeast mix, which just looks like it started to bloom, which is good. So I can definitely smell the yeast now. And I'm going to pop that in that wee bowl there and see if I can catch the little bugger and get him to stop eating my flowers. Right, slug yeast trap in situ. We'll check again tomorrow. Good afternoon. It's Sunday the 13th and it's fine. So as I said earlier in the introduction, the weather's meant to be good this week, so I'm really going to try and get out and catch up with a lot of the little bits that, well, not so little bits, that I haven't finished doing that we've already started off together. What I do each day will be dependent on the weather, of course, but more on the wind direction. So today it's easterly, so I'm using the house to shelter from that, and I'm going to finish up, well, we're going to continue doing the strawberries. I didn't get very far with the strawberries the other day, basically finished up where the video finished up, and the wool matting that I put down has been bowed, is the best way to put it. So I forgot to put the netting back across, hence Bo has been munching at the wool, and I'll show you that in a sec. Over the last week I've been trying to get some more, and I've managed to get a wee bit more wool matting, but generally I found out that you can't get it anymore the way I used to, so I'm going to go and get some this week from a commercial place, buy some and finish up the strawberry beds. But my aim today is just to go through and do as much clearing of the strawberries as possible. I'll film some of it, but not all of it, because you've seen me doing it. But I will show you what Bo's done in a sec. I'll bring you down. So a couple of vlogs ago, I showed you me cutting up some nice wool matting and popping it down neatly around my strawberries. And as I said, I forgot to cover it. So Bo's been in here ripping it up, chewing it up and spitting it back out. So my first task is to tidy this up. I'll just reuse what's there, not going to waste it. And then just keep moving along the strawberry bed and see how much more I can get done today, and remembering to cover it so Bo doesn't wreck the rest of it. Right, I'm going to be headless in the shot, but I've tidied up Bo's mess and I've got to this point here. Now, one of the strawberries I planted last year didn't make it for whatever reason. I think it got laid on actually. So I've got a new strawberry which comes from some runners that I potted up. I just popped in some strawberry runners into a pot, just pinned them down with a paper clip, and most of them took, not all of them, but most of them took, and that just gives me my spare strawberry plants for this year, which is handy. Lou, what did I just say? Lou's come to see me, but he started the same trick as Bo does. He was going to have a go at the wool matting, so he's just been told off. Yes, you have been. You've been told off. What are you going to do about it? Probably totally ignore me. What are you doing? What are you doing? Right, that's strawberry bed done. Well, 90% of it done. All the strawberries have been tidied up. I have given them each a little handful of fertiliser to get them on the way. Got rid of all the flowers and the odd strawberry that had decided to grow. All I've got to do now is finish putting the wool matting down when I get some this week. And of course, the really important thing I need to do today is cover it with the netting again to stop Bo shredding the wool matting I've already put down. I had a visit from Louis before, and Louis was pondering following his brother's lead, was ripping it up, but I had a wee growl at him and he took off. So that's the strawberries done for 2025. Next year I'll be lifting all the strawberry plants, splitting them apart, putting the best ones back in after I've given the bed a really good thorough fill up with good soil and compost, and then I'll be putting down new wool matting again. I'll show you what I've done in a mo, but I'm just really enjoying the nice weather today. The wind's it's there, but I'm sheltered from most of it by the house at the moment, so it's just nice to see the sun again. So this is what I've done, up from about 3/4 along the bed. I've got about maybe a third, maybe half of the bed with new wool, and I'll get the rest down later in the week once I get the wool from town. So that's it for today. I think I'm going to go and enjoy a nice hot cup of tea and sit down for a bit. Okay, it is Thursday the 17th and it's really windy down here, so I'm not sure how long I'm going to last, but I'm desperate to get these raspberries out. This is the second bucket of the ones that I started ages ago. I have pruned them, they're all pruned. They just need to come out of this bucket. They're in I think it's a 30-litre bucket, and I want to split them up so that they go into these two raised beds here. I've got the other ones just down from them. So I'm gonna just leave the camera rolling and you can see what I get up to till I freeze to bits and bolt back inside. Actually, it's cold enough, windy enough down here for me to bring out the funny looking hat. So if it's one thing I hate is sore ears, and cold wind gives me sore ears. Also, these raised beds have come out of the greenhouse, so they've had lots growing in them before. So I'm just going to pop some sheep pellets in there. The other ones I filled up fresh with new compost / dirt. These ones have had at least a couple of crops in. So just to give them a bit of oomph, I'm going to add a bit of sheep pellets to help them along their way. Right, stop the press, quick edit. So It's now Thursday the 17th of July, and I was just topping up my heated propagators because you pop water underneath them to keep them hydrated, etc. And I noticed, oops, don't want to damage it. Dum-da-dum, da-dum. I have a chili. It's an orange habanero, and so that is about 8 days after I've planted the seed. Yippee! Not very central in the thing, but I think some of them got a bit squiffed when I put the seed raising mix over the top of them. Yippee! We are on our way. The planting season of 2025-2026 is officially a go. Good afternoon. Well, it's Tuesday the 15th of July. It was meant to be a bit blowy this afternoon, but no, weather's good. So I'm going to get out here and have a tackle of the Rambler Rose that's surrounding me at the moment. Planted it just about a year ago, so it's had a full year to establish here. Of course, it'll be a wee bit older as a rose goes, probably a couple of years old when I bought it last year. Pruning a Rambler isn't that much different from other roses in the sense that you prune to an outward bud and things like that. But because I'm wanting it to grow up and over the arbor here, what I need to do is identify some long leaders and prune with them in mind. So I'll tie them in over the top of the arbor itself so that they can establish and then send out their suckers from there. And I'll tidy around the base of the rose as well. Get rid of a lot of the stuff that's encroaching into the arbor itself, so it's not making the arbor itself comfortable to sit in because you keep getting whacked by a bit of rose. I'll go through some of it with you. The tying in bit, I've got family going to come in and help do the top bit, so you won't see them being physically tied in, but I'll show you afterwards. So the rose itself is still actually putting out new buds and some flowers, but what I'm going to do first is just tidy up this bottom area because I don't want a huge amount of blooms coming off it. Yes, definitely a few around here, but not a lot at the back because it's heading up through the fence into the neighbours. So I need to control that a bit. So I've started to open up this area and I've identified a couple of long leaders on the other side. I'm just going to keep quietly nipping away here and come back to you soon. In a comment on the last video, someone was asking about the difference around a climbing rose and a rambling rose. Both need structures to support them. A climbing rose tends to be a more defined rose, especially if it's well pruned, and usually goes up something like a trellis or a fence and things like that. And they can become huge, but it just depends on the space you've got for them. A rambling rose, on the other hand, is literally that, it just rambles. It's great over things like arbors because it will grow from one point and you can train it across using the long leaders, and it will cover the whole structure. Even up a fence, if it's a really big fence, you can do that as well. In one place I had a massive, absolutely massive rambling rose at the gate, and when I first got there, it just so needed a haircut, and I gave it a really big haircut and it responded really well. It was starting to break the fence away, it was that heavy. My advice would be that if you're putting a rose up something like a fence or a trellis like this sort of thing, a climbing rose is great because you can tie them in and really get them into a nice form with roses growing out in the direction that you want them to grow. But if you've got something like an arbor like I've got here, if you want it completely covered, then I would go for a rambler, unless you want to grow roses on both sides of the arbor, and then you could, in theory, do a couple of climbing roses and get them to train up, meet in the middle. You come to see Mum and see what work she's doing. You come to supervise. Hey, see what kind of job she's doing. Hey, hey, beautiful boy. Oh, I'm going to have a wee lay down and a scratch. Oh, yes. Nothing like being a well looked after pussycat. But he gives back as much as I give him. Right, so as you can see, I've been busy here. I cleaned all this out. Family helped me identify about 6 long leaders, and now they're tied in, so it gives me a chance to tidy the rest up. It's similar to other roses, so dying, diseased and damaged all come first. Then with a rambler it's a wee bit harder to take out the cross, but take out as much cross branches as you can, so that you end up with a reasonably open lattice work, because you want the air to be able to get in around it to prevent rust and other diseases. Remove all the little weedy bits and pieces that aren't actually going to do much but will take away from the rose being healthy. I've had to try and prevent myself being too hard on this rose because I'm a hard pruner. It's a young rose. It doesn't have a lot of diseased or dying branches. There's a few damaged ones. So I'm just trying to be good more to train it rather than, and put it in a direction rather than really hit it hard like I did the roses in last week's vlog, which are about 5 years or more older than that, and I really wanted to keep them down. So I'm just going to keep working away at this now. I've got a wee bit to do around the back here, but probably another half hour's work and I'll be about done with it. And then it will get a bit of a summer prune as branches become unwieldy in the wrong place, or if we get high winds they get damaged, I'll try and take them out. You want to try and take out on any rose your damaged branches, especially during summer, because they're more likely to be an opening for disease. So just snip them out, it doesn't hurt the plant. And you can actually give your rose a summer prune, certainly go through and deadhead it after it's had its first flush, and different roses have different times when they do their flush and need deadheading. The ones that I did last week's vlog, they give me 2 good distinct flushes, so I go through and deadhead after the first one, and then I get a nice second flush through as well. Different people use different things for tying up their roses. Some people use string. I don't like string because it can damage the actual stems as it rubs in the wind. Other people use specific ties bought just for that. As I've been a nurse for years and years and years, while I didn't have to wear pantyhose anymore, that was the best thing since sliced bread, I did often wear knee highs, and yeah, I still find they are the best for tying roses up. They last years and years and years, which I know is a bad thing in some ways, but it means that you're not having to tie your rose in every year. Black's not the great look, but it's all I've got, so it's what I'm using. So I'll keep pottering on at this, and come spring when it starts to put out its new shoots and flowers and what have you, we'll have a look at it again. It's that time of week for a cuppa and a chat. Well, the weather turned out to be rather good over the week. While cold and windy and many times, at least it wasn't raining, so that's a hugie. The ground really needs it to not rain for a week or two, so that especially the front garden and the front lawn can dry out a bit, because it's really squishy. I learned a couple of things this week. First, you need to actually check your mic's on, just not assume that it's on. It's actually quite easy to turn the mic off when you're popping it onto your clothes like this, and especially if you're trying to get it onto your jumper and using the clip itself rather than the magnet. The second thing I learnt was how to voice over, out of necessity, but it was a good thing to learn. I'm sorry for the bad sound, low volume and wind noise on the first part of the gooseberries. I did actually think about voicing over that, but the actual volume wasn't too bad once I adjusted it, and while there was a bit of wind noise, I felt that it was probably okay to squeeze that wee bit in. Now that the gooseberries are done, we can concentrate on doing the red currants and the black currants next week. I had a bit of fun with the vlog this week, just for the hell of it. The great greenhouse slug off being one of them, and later on with the chili watch. I'm kind of sad to report that the slug is actually still winning. I'm pretty sure he was hiding out in the mint pots, so I've moved the mint pots, and I'm hoping with that I've moved him out of the greenhouse. The strawberries are basically done, though I didn't get the wool matting that I planned to this week. I found out that I actually have to order it for it to be at the place that I want to pick it up. So I'll have to do that this week and just work out what day I'm going to town to be able to pick it up. But I'm happy to report, to date, Bo and Lou haven't managed to destroy the rest of the matting that I've put down. I gave up on the raspberries just after finishing that filming. It just was way too cold down there. But I've done most of them now. I've just got one very small pot to probably prune and just tidy up. I don't know that I'll actually pot them on yet. They're still not really established. And then I've got two new ones that I just need to plant up. The Great Chili Watch will continue. I can report to date that there are 4 more up, and next week we'll have another look and see how they're going. I've actually got a couple more varieties to plant that one of my local gardening buddies gave me this week, so I'll pop some of them in as well. With the rambling rose done, happy to report about that, and I actually did get that day 3 more roses done, just 3 newish roses about the same age as the rambling rose. They're not in such good condition. They got wind blasted a bit last summer, and with the cooler summer they didn't establish particularly well. So I'm hoping that with this summer we might get some good weather and they'll be able to get their feet really into the ground. If you have any questions about what we did in the vlog this week, please pop them down in the comments and I'm happy to answer them. If you have any ideas about what we can do in the vlog, please pop them down in the comments section and we'll have a look at them and see what we can do. I'd like to thank everyone who's subscribed to the channel so far. If you haven't yet, it's free to do so, so it'd be awesome if you could. It really does put a smile on my face when I see the numbers ticking up. In addition, all new subscribers help for my goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers by the 10th vlog, which is only a couple of weeks away now. That will be my first goal towards getting the channel monetized. The second goal is to get 4,000 watch hours. In addition, all comments help towards boosting the channel and the algorithm, as does all the likes, etc. One of the main reasons that I want to get the channel monetized is so that I can then use the money from getting it monetized to fund going out and visiting other gardens so that we can have a look at what other people are doing around the country. I hope you all have a happy and safe week coming up. Stay warm and dry. And until next week when we catch up again. Bye.